Members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding to receive the Worshipful Mayor of Burnley, Councillor Cossimer Townley. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mayor.
Please be seated. I'd like to welcome members to this full council meeting at the Mechanics Theatre, and we thank our hosts, Burnley Leisure, for accommodating us once again. Can I ask everyone present not to talk during the meeting, as this can be very distracting for others? And can I also ask everyone to ensure that their mobile devices are switched to silent and do not cause a distraction during the meeting? I'd like to remind members again that where they are able, they're required to stand when addressing the meeting. And we're not expecting a fire alarm tonight, but if one should occur, please follow the mechanics staff and officers out of the venue to the assembly point in the car park at the rear of the town hall. The meeting is being streamed to the council's YouTube channel, so would members and observers in the room please note they may appear on the stream. I'd like to welcome all those watching on our YouTube stream this evening, and also a special welcome to members of the Burnley and the Pendle Youth Councils, who are seated behind us and have come to see how we conduct our meetings. I hope we will be set a good example for them this evening. Finally, let us remember to treat all members and members of the public and officers with the respect that is due to them and as set out in the Code of Conduct for the members. Before we move on to the first agenda item, will members join me in a minute's silence to remember Jim Astin, a highly valued and well-respected colleague in our licensing and compliance team who died suddenly on the 29th of September. Please stand. Please be seated. I'm sure there will be members who would wish to pay tribute. So, would any of those like to raise their hands? Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a retired police officer, as you all know. Jim was a police officer, and I just want to say he was a superb asset to Lancashire Constabulary. Upon his retirement, obviously he joined Burnley Borough Council as part of the licensing team. I had the pleasure of working with him on the licensing team on a couple of operations that they ran. I found him to be a completely professional, polite gentleman. He truly was an asset to this council, and I was so sorry to hear of his sudden passing. I'd just like to say thank you, Jim, for all the work that you did, and I really would like to pass my condolences to his family. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Whitaker. Councillor Anwar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to reiterate what Councillor Whittaker has said, I didn't personally have many dealings with Jim himself, but the occasions where I did come across him, he came always approachable, always willing to help. And in particular, I think the one thing that I would like to mention is after his sad passing, the response from the actual taxi trade and the way that he worked with them. And they were all truly saddened to hear of his death, and he's a massive loss. And they spoke so highly of him, but not just the way that he helped them, but as we just heard from Councillor Whittaker, he was a true gentleman. And so on behalf of our group and myself and the taxi trade, I'd like to pass on our condolences to his family. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Anwar. And I think, Councillor Sumner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As chair of licensing, I got to meet Jim on a couple of occasions. His duty of work is very, very good. He's well respected by the taxi trade people, even though I'm trying to catch him out. He was very, very good at what he did. He had full respect from his colleagues in the licensing team, and he will be very, very missed, sadly missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sumner. And I know that we sent our condolences from the whole council. Moving on to item 1 on the agenda, declarations of interest. With regard to item 4C of the agenda, fees and charges, I can confirm that the monitoring officer, following consultation with the chair of Audit and Standards Committee, has granted a dispensation to allow all members to participate in the vote on this item in respect of the garden waste collection charges and contract car parking charges, as the number of members affected would impede the business. Are there any other declarations of interest? Oh, Councillor Fewings.
Thank you, Mayor. The usual declaration of interest in relation to items 4A and 4B, ownership of a property on Lower St James's Street, which is in the Heritage Action Zone and has a grant contract in place.
Thank you very much for that. Item 2, Mayor's Communications.
None have been received, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Item 3, Public Question Time.
There are none, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda, items for decision by the Council. Can I point out to members that items for decision by Council are treated as motions? Once a proposal has been moved and seconded, members may speak once and for a maximum of 5 minutes. Members may only then speak again on an amendment. Will members please note that the relevant minute extracts from the 30th of November executive meeting have been published on ModGov as a supplementary to the agenda pack. Okay, so item 4A, Revenue Monitoring Report 22-23 Quarter 2. Thank you. Councillor Graham, will you move the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to move the report. It's been through scrutiny on the 24th of November, no comments made, and agreed by executive on the 30th of November. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the report.
And Councillor Anwar, will you second the report?
I second the report, Madam Mayor.
Any member? All those in favour? All those against? This item is carried. Item 4B on the agenda, Capital Monitoring Report 22-23 Quarter 2. Councillor Graham, will you move the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also like to move the Capital Programme Monitoring Report. Again, no comments from scrutiny, and it's agreed by executive on the 30th of November. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the report.
Thank you. And Councillor Anwar, will you second the report, please?
I second the report, Madam Mayor.
Any member? All in favour? Do you need to? All against? Any against? The motion is carried, and we can let Councillor Fewings back in, please. Item 4C, fees and charges, tariff 2324. Councillor Graham, will you move the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Scrutiny Committee endorsed the schedule of fees and charges set out in this report at their meeting on the 24th of November, and the Executive agreed this schedule at its meeting on the 30th of November. I thereby move this report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And Councillor Anwar, will you second the report?
I second the report, Madam Mayor.
Any member? Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Regarding fees and charges, whilst myself and the rest of my colleagues can agree with some of the points on this particular report, which as per usual is very comprehensive, I do have some concerns, as do some of my residents. I'd like to refer to page 32.
Councillor Whitaker, we can't really hear you. Can you just
Oh,
hold
sorry,
it up?
is that any better,
yeah,
Madam Mayor?
That's better. I wondered whether it was the sound system, but it's...
I do apologise,
it's
Madam
you.
Mayor. Page 32.11, please. I, along with a number of my residents, have serious concerns about this suggested increase in the garden waste collection charges of 14%. When garden waste was initially set up, it was actually included in our council tax. Subsequently, we began charging for it. I don't feel it's fair to encourage people to recycle, to then put a 14% increase yet again upon these garden charges. I realise it didn't go up last year, but previously it was included in the council tax. There's another point on page 33, which is point 15. Bulky waste and white goods collections. We decided to actually reduce the cost of this last year, I think it was, or the year before. It's been very, very successful. It's discouraged people from actually fly tipping. I believe that this increase would actually add to fly tipping within our borough. I do apologise, I've got a bit of a cold. It would encourage people, I believe, to actually fly tip in our borough, and we have got an issue with that, as we're all aware. Many of you may have seen recently on my social media platforms, I've been raising that particular issue within my ward. Page 33.13. This council wants to encourage people to shop locally. It's vital that we encourage people to come into Burnley Town Centre. Last year we obviously bought Charter Walk. We've got a lot of footfall in there now. Yet we're basically, you're asking me to vote to increase parking charges on pay and display and contract parking within our town. I personally believe, my colleagues believe, again, that will affect people coming into the town centre, discourage them from shopping locally, and it's something that we should not, in our opinion, be doing. Those are the points I'd like to raise, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Councillor Whitaker. Any other member? Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for my colleague, Councillor Whitaker, who raised some very valid points there. There's just 2 points I'd like to focus in on. I do understand that clearly we do need to raise additional revenue, and I'm fully appreciative of that, but I'll come back to that in a second. The 2 points I'd like to draw your attention to, please, are page 33.14 in relation to commercial waste, proposed revenue increase of 9%. I represent a number of business networking groups in and around East Lancashire, and a fair proportion of that are within the building trade. Now, essentially what we're doing is really hammering small business owners for doing their job by increasing the revenues by 9%. I feel that is discouraging local business in the area. Second point is in relation to Townley Hall, page 33, 0.19, a proposed increase of 33% on parking charges in relation to Townley Hall car park, which, quite frankly, has got to be discouraging our local residents for enjoying one of the best local green spaces that we have in our borough. I find that quite astounding. But this all circles back, Madam Mayor, to the approval of the budget earlier in the year, which our group roundly opposed. Within that budget, there was a number of tick box glamour positions, the climate change officer, and also some training, which I feel was completely wasting council and local residents' money, naming iPad training and climate change, carbon literacy training, which is tens of thousands of pounds worth of overspend, Madam Mayor. So whilst I do appreciate we do need to raise revenue in certain areas, and I do agree with some of the points in here, I strongly believe that there are better ways that we can save that money by looking closely and scrutinising the budgets that we have in place, which our group are doing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Steele. Any other member? Councillor Graham. Oh. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I just did a quick running total of what the Conservative group just talked about there. They talked about there was a need to raise revenue, but I noticed that they didn't put any suggestions forward or any amendments. They just did a simple critique and didn't actually propose any alternative. But I just added up that what they just suggested, and it came to about £150,000, which to anybody in here, it sounded so simple when they were said it, but basically they just put 2% on everybody's council tax in the borough, if that's what they wanted to do. No suggestion of how they were going to pay for the suggestions, apart from just a reference, to be fair to Councillor Steele, about something in the last budget, which was a balanced budget. But let me just point out that at the last council meeting, I think it was Councillor McGowan, already spent that money on suggesting we should have additional grass cutters. So basically, what the Conservatives are doing, without any suggesting any amendments, is basically just wanting to run to the crowd, basically dog whistle politics, no suggestions of any proposals or alternatives, and really it should just be rejected out of hand because it's incoherent. They're not even suggesting anything. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Townsend. Any other member? Oh, Councillor Graham.
Thank you. I presume no other member wants to speak on this.
I think you can round it up. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hopefully I can round it up. These figures have been in the public domain since the middle of November, a week before the scrutiny committee agenda was published. If the members...
Councillor Graham, could you keep the microphone slightly closer to you? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think it's on. In the excitement, it's got turned off.
Dexter. Dexter, do you bring that?
Dexter,
do we just want to bring you
yours
on?
over?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's working.
Oh, we've got two.
All right.
I've got another one now. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. I know I've got a fairly loud voice, but obviously not that loud. Yeah, the agenda for these changes, these charges and fees, has been in the public domain since before the middle of November. You've had plenty of time to scrutinise them. You've had plenty of time to comment on them. I noticed that when it went to scrutiny committee on the 24th of November, there were no comments. There was some discussion about car parking, as I remember, but there were no comments in the way that you have described them today. Also, you've not bothered to come to the executive and put your case before the executive, where the actual decision has already been made. We're only here really now to note the decision made by the executive. As usual, in these cases, you're inaccurate and you're far too late. To speak to Councillor Whittaker's comments about garden waste, We originally had some help from the government about garden waste. We have it's been an extremely popular service, and it's only fair that the people who have gardens, who are, you know, potentially slightly better off, should pay for it, rather than the people who don't have gardens should subsidise it. Bulky waste has not discouraged fly tipping. As any of you know that have been around the town, it has done nothing to discourage fly tipping, but we still need to collect it, and we still have costs involved in collecting it and disposing of it. And as for car parking, Councillor Whittaker, we have not increased car parking since 2016. That's a long time, and a lot of inflation is going on at the moment. We need to be able to increase the car parking at least in line with inflation. And we've said, well, 5%, so, you know, fair enough. And for Councillor Steele, the commercial waste is very successful. It's very well supported. I've not heard of any dissent from small businesses about it. It's a much more efficient and economical service than many of the commercial waste companies charge. Townley Hall car park charges, well, I've said what I had to say about car parking. It's a well-used park, and we need to maintain it. It's expensive to uphold Townley Hall and all the grounds. I don't think it's a bad reflection of at all of what we're doing. You mentioned also about the climate change officer. You will note from the report, if you read my strategic report, strategic plan report, you will see that a climate change officer has been appointed. I presume you're not asking me to sack that person before they've even started. Councillors have all a lot of councillors have undertaken carbon literacy training. You've all had the opportunity to do it, and if you do it, you will see how worthwhile it is and how much it points in the direction of the benefits of green industry, green economy, and doing things right for the climate as well as for the economy. So read the report, Councillor Steele, and you will have already had the answer to many of these questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillors, and we will therefore move to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Please keep your hands raised until the officers ask us to put them down. Right. And those against? What was it, 21? Yeah. 7 against, sorry, please, you can take your hands down. 7 against, therefore, that report is carried. Item 4D, Treasury Management Mid-Year Report. Councillor Graham, will you move another report?
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's my evening this evening. Again, the executive noted the mid-year position statement. If people take the trouble to read the full reports, which is on the website, they'll find it extremely interesting, I'm sure. The executive noted the report on the 30th of November, so Council's now asked to endorse this report. I move the report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Councillor Anwar, will you second the report, please?
I second the report, Madam Mayor.
Any member? All those in favour? All bar one, I think. Those against? That's carried. Item 5 are reports from the committee chairman. Please remember, members, that for this item and the next one on the strategic progress reports, members should not refer to named individuals or properties. When asking questions or making observations, please ask the... oh dear, I've made a bit of a mess of that, haven't I? Anyway, so when asking questions or making observations, questions on delegated council functions should be directed to the relevant committee chairman rather than the executive members. Okay, Councillor Howard Baker, will you move the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the report and willing to answer any questions if any arise. Thank you.
Oh yeah, yep. Any member? I'm going to rattle through these then. So item 5B, Councillor Lishman, would you move the Gordon Lishman? Would you please move the report?
I move the report, Madam Mayor.
Good to you. Any member? Item 5C, licensing. Councillor Sumner, would you move your report? Any member? And 5D, development control. The Chair and Vice Chair are unable to be with us this evening. On this occasion, I would ask that if members have any questions, they submit them in writing to the Democratic Office, and arrangements will be made to provide you with a written answer. Item 6, strategic plan and progress reports. I'll take each report in order. I will ask for any questions on the report, and the executive member will respond to one question at a time. The same procedure will then be followed for observations. Can I remind members with a question or observation to clearly quote the page number and reference, and to allow time for the members to locate these in their report before you ask your question or make your observation. Finally, will members please be concise with their questions and observations, and as I mentioned earlier, remember not to refer to named individuals or properties when asking questions or making observations. So, to the leaders' report, Councillor Afrasiab Anwar, will you please move your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will move my report, but just before I do, just to say a few words, particularly on the item which relates to obviously the launch of Lancashire 2050. The launch of Lancashire 2050, which is a strategic plan, a vision for what Lancashire will look like in 2050, took place earlier this month. And in terms of what it is, it's just a framework, it's just an outline, a plan of what Lancashire will look like. But I think it's important that we stress that as part of this, as part of that vision, nothing has yet been agreed. Anything that would need to be agreed, the plan itself will come to scrutiny, will come to, so all members can have a look at that as well. And the key thing as part of this is that in terms of the governance structure that will obviously help us to deliver and get to that vision for Lancashire 2050. Nothing has been agreed on that as of yet because nothing has been forthcoming from government. And our line is the same line that we agreed this time last year in this council, which is one member, one vote. So until district councils get a voice at that table, then we won't be agreeing to anything as it stands. So just wanted to make that clear and just reiterate that point for members. And also just to refer to obviously the successful HAF programme that was run over the summer. That's in your reports, and hopefully the council will be running another HAF programme for our local children and families coming up this Christmas as well. I will take any questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any member? Crikey, you've got away lucky. Any observations? Then we'll move to the Deputy Leader and Executive Member for Resources and Performance. Councillor Graham, would you please move your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I've already mentioned this evening, I'm happy to announce that we've recruited to the Climate Change Officer post, and we can look forward to meeting the officer and working on the climate change programme in the new year. Apparently I'm in charge of digital strategy as well. I'd like to draw members' attention to Love Clean Streets. I would have thought this was in Councillor Hussein's domain, but I've got to mention the app that is now available. It's very easy to download. I'm not a technical person, but I have managed to do it, and I've been using it. And you can do it either on your smartphone or on your council iPad. So if you haven't got a smartphone at home, you certainly should have a council iPad. And it's very easy to use. It connects us very easily and straightforwardly to street scene. In fact, if you're reporting fly tipping or rubbish in a back street, for example, you'll find that it goes straight to a BASA and they can get out there and sort it out, maybe even before you get home. So it's very good for dirty back streets, fly tipping, and broken pavings, broken paving slabs and potholes. The same app goes straight through to County Council. So you can report back to them straight away. Whether they do anything straight away is perhaps a different matter. But anyway, I won't labour that point. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I will just add that actually Lancashire will be sending out postcards where you can just look at the QR code, Councillor Graham, and get it on your phone. But I will agree that it is an extremely useful app, and I have had cause to use it on several occasions, and even I can use it. So any questions? Councillor McGowan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the last full council, I asked Councillor Graham to confirm whether carbon literacy training, which the council is currently rolling out, would cost £72,000, to which I received a reply stating that this amount was, and I quote, good value for money. I'm pleased to see, after reading tonight's report, that this is reduced to £25,000, although I do actually think that this money could have been spent elsewhere. I don't think that's a secret. However, can I ask, given the executive member's moving figures, can she confirm exactly the cost of the new climate change officer that the council has just employed? That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Councillor Graham.
No, you're asking me to reveal the salary of a member of staff, and I will not do that. It's not appropriate to do that in full council. You've seen my report, you've read my report. I do clarify, I misspoke last time, I do clarify that the training is not expected to exceed £25,000. And I do encourage all members to get on that training, because I was a bit, well, concerned that only the Greens and Councillor Lishman and I were on the training. It's open to everybody, and it's extremely valuable for all members. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Can I ask Councillor Graham whether this training is now on a video that we can just all access?
Madam Mayor, no, it's a day, virtually a day long's worth of training. It takes quite a bit of effort, and you've also got to kind of do you've got to do homework afterwards. I was going to say a test, but it's more like homework afterwards. So it's quite intensive, but it can be done. It is done online, and it is going to be rolled out in the new year for the next tranche of councillors. So encourage, please, everybody to get on.
I think it's possibly the term homework that might. Moving on to the executive member for housing and observations. Councillor Lishman, Margaret Lishman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to follow on from Councillor Graham. I say homework. What it actually makes you do after you've done the course, the day's course, is actually think how you're going to practically use the lessons that you've learned. And I'm sure colleagues in the Green Party will back me up on that. So you have to think of some targets of what you will do personally to make your life greener, and also what we might do in the council to make the council behave in a more appropriate way to try and tackle the problem of climate change. So the course is extremely useful in making you think about how you might do things differently. And certainly one of the things that I think Councillor Graham and I would like to see in the future is an observation under each report that comes to scrutiny and to the executive about what its impact will be on the climate, whether it will improve it or harm it. And that is something we will expect the officers to be doing. So yes, we think that was good value for money to employ that person, because they will be doing that sort of thing for this council in the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, which one first? Which one was he called? What's he bloody called? Where's the green Councillor White.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's concerning PL5 climate emergency strategy. I welcome that we're having a new climate change officer. And it mentions further on, it talks about improving energy performance in 500 homes. And why is it important to have education? I'll give you an example here. A local housing association did a 10-year assessment of passive house homes. The study of 14 homes in 2011 in Essex. It revealed that some residents were still only paying £30 a quarter for heating. That's why we need education. Old heating systems are obsolete, insulating homes. There's a reason why we need to be educated. The reason why I knew about this even before is because I sent an email out previous to the officer concerning passive house training that was available for all people in local councils, and it even gave the information there where it talked about building housing to passive house or zero carbon. It gone from in 2018 to roughly about cost of building for 8% on the cost of a normal build, and it got to a stage now it's like 4%. And that's what we need education for, because we're talking about modern technologies, modern standards. If somebody comes in the engineering background, things change all the time, and we need to be educated up to the standards required. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor Cunliffe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it's a shame really that members aren't taking up this great opportunity to educate themselves. If members don't want to come, why don't we give the Youth Council members an opportunity to take up the training if our members aren't going to take up the training? They are the future. It's their planet just as much as ours, so they need educating as well. My only observation is that I'm still waiting for a pledge on climate from the council so that we do have some concrete targets moving forward. So are we going to be halving our emissions by 2030 like most of industry signing up to, with a plan to reduce all our emissions to get to net zero by 2040 and 2050? I hope that's going to be the case.
Thank you, Councillor Cunliffe. Councillor Graham, do you want to wrap up? Oh, hang on. Well, sorry, we do have one more observation. Councillor McGann.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick observation. I am slightly disappointed that Councillor Graham wouldn't give me a ballpark figure, even a ballpark figure. Last council meeting we spoke about £45,000, and now it seems that that department is going to be a secret budget that we won't be able to find out about again. So, thank you.
Councillor Graham.
I can privately let you know how much we're paying for a climate change officer, but I cannot do it in the public domain. That is not appropriate at all. And thank you for your observations, Councillor Cunliffe and Councillor White. And I'm really, really sorry about the dinosaurs in the Tory party who don't seem to be moving with the times at all. You talk to any industry in this town. I mean, Councillor Townsend deals with quite a lot of industries through through his portfolio. Sorry, I couldn't find the right words. And he will tell you that green jobs are the future. And it's about time you got on with learning and understanding about climate change. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Moving to the Executive Member for Health and Wellbeing, Councillor Margaret Lishman, would you please move your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to move the report. I hope all members have now received their invitation to look at the plasterwork on the scaffold tour of Townley Hall. I'm not sure I fancy the scaffold tour, but I'm going to go and just have a look. And you'll also notice there's also a request for warm clothing. You can drop this off at any of the GP surgeries across Burnley and Padiham, and that's by the 14th of December. So I'd urge you all to please do something. The report's quite detailed. I'm quite happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lishman. Any questions? Councillor McGowan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is just a quick one about the bridge over the Padiham Greenway. I think it's important that this bridge is, which has been closed for some time now, is reopened as soon as possible. It's something I've spoken with a number of residents at the top of Padiham about. I am aware that Sustrans are in talks with the Coal Authority at the minute about the next steps. So my question is, obviously we all want to see the bridge repaired and made safe to the public. So please could the exec member update the council as to the meeting which took place this week between council officers and Sustrans. Basically, has there been any movement on getting the bridge back into use, please? Thank you.
I have to confess that I cannot do that. This is partly because of an bereavement by one of our officers that was involved, and he's not been able to brief me, as I wasn't there personally. I am as eager as you are. It is closing part of the Greenway. It is not acceptable. But the coal board are a difficult beast to deal with. But we will keep going, I assure you. And when I get an update, I will email you. Thank you.
Any member? Any more? Any more? Any observations? Councillor Anwar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. PE4, page 1110, just on the issue of Burnley Together and all the fabulous work that's going on through Burnley Together. But I just want to say that we've got people collecting clothing, we've got people who are putting themselves forward for warm spaces, we've got people who are collecting and distributing food. When our Conservative colleagues, when they talk about all these things, come up with suggestions but never ever come up with or talk about the fact that all of this is happening because of a Conservative government and because of 12 years of austerity, but they'll never ever mention that. And it's important, but it's our communities who are having to pick up the pieces on that to provide clothing. And I think Burnley Together and our community voluntary faith sector are doing an absolutely fabulous job. And the Conservative members and the group should be ashamed of themselves by supporting the MP
I would
and
just
some of the
stop you
policies
there.
that come from
We've
that.
had that once before, that we are not naming and shaming for government policy the local groups. I think we've already had this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And then PL4, page 112, just wanted to say with regards to the successful bonfire that took place at Townley Park, again, really fabulous event that's run by obviously Burnley Council and partners that deliver on that. And also just wanted to pass on, I think it's important that we pass on the thanks to other partners to ensure that incidents that occurred last year didn't occur this year with regards to some of the incidents in our local communities. Everything passed by pretty smoothly, so I wanted to pass that on to other partners, especially the police. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Anwar. Councillor Hurt. I'm sorry, there is one thing that I have forgotten. That is page numbers and the sections, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's page 110, PE4, and it's about the community grocery. I'm saddened greatly that so many people in our borough have to rely on the community grocery to get by every week, and I think that's a sad statement of affairs about our country and the state it's in at the moment. But things like this do make you feel much better about the people of Burnley and the organisations that are working in Burnley to help those people. The fact that so many people are getting help is to be applauded, and so the fact that a second grocery is going to be opened, and once details emerge of where that is going to be, I hope others will join me in pledging some time volunteering at that grocery. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hurt. Any more? Do you want to round up then, Councillor Lishman?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to agree with the comments. The work that's been done by the community and faith sector and by the Burnley Together is absolutely outstanding for the borough. And if you do get, as Councillor Hurt said, if you get the opportunity to go and volunteer down at the existing grocery, then you should do. It's an absolutely wonderful model. It is so much better than the food parcels. The food parcels are good in an emergency, but I also have to say there's a whole raft of work going on to support the community grocery, which is about teaching people how to cook. We've had one scheme going where we've been teaching people how to cook and giving them slow cookers. So the meals that they're learning to cook are with slow cookers, so that they can all go away then and start using their slow cookers with the lessons that they've learnt. Because over the years, education has stopped focusing on simple things like domestic science, and there was a whole tranche of individuals who didn't have the deep joy of learning how to make jam tarts and all the rest of it. And yes, it was a waste. It felt like a waste of time when you did it at school, but you know, 101 ways with a pound of mince is a wonderful asset to have, and being able to have a slow cooker. So don't just think it's Burnley Together handing out goods and handing out food parcels and the grocery store. There's a whole raft of underpinning work going on across this borough, particularly with things like the social prescribing service that is hosted by CVS, where people who are lonely are not only encouraged but are supported to go and do things that they like and to go back out into the community. Because there's a whole tranche of people who have forgotten how to go out because of COVID. And encouraging them to go out again has been a major part. So don't underestimate the work that Burnley Together and the community and the faith sector do for all the residents in Burnley. And I urge you all, if you can, and those watching on YouTube, volunteer if you don't already, or take advantage of the service if you need it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lishman. Moving on to the Executive Member for Housing and Development Control. Councillor John Harbour, will you please move your report?
I'll move my report, Madam Mayor, and in doing so, could I ask colleagues to look at PL2, page 116, where we talk about private rented disrepair. Colleagues may be aware, especially in scrutiny, that the Secretary of State has written to all councils and social housing providers throughout the country regarding housing standards in the private and social rented sector. And this was done because of the tragedy of what happened over in Rochdale. Numerous questions are being asked by the Secretary of State, particularly around damp and mould, and we will respond to them. But what I did, I actually I referred to the English Housing Survey 2020, and I'm referring to this now because this basically explains the task, the huge task that we all face. And when I say we all, I mean all parties, at all levels of government, whether it's at national, regional, or local government. And just some figures coming from that survey. The new one's due out at the end of the month, I think, but this is the last survey. 3.5 million homes did not meet the decent home standards in England alone. 2.2 million of those homes had at least one Category 1 hazard. 941,000 had serious damp problems. In 2020, 23% of occupied homes in the private renter sector did not meet the decent home standard. With owner-occupied homes, it was 14%, and social rented properties, 11%. This is some of the reasons why we concentrate on private sector rented properties. Also, it says in the survey, the English survey, older dwellings and certain types of dwellings, especially converted flats, are more likely to have poor housing conditions. And when you look at the housing stock in our town, and here in the northwest, in East Lancashire in particular, we have a lot of older dwellings. Finally, on this survey, there is a strong relationship between energy efficiency and housing quality, and most homes with poor energy efficiency do not meet the decent home standards. So again, this is what I'm saying to colleagues. It's a task that we all face, and we all need to recognise that. So what are we doing as far as the local council's concerned, our borough council? If there's any problems of damp in properties, whether it's private or social rented, we will always act on those. I think I've got to acknowledge the work of Scrutiny have done. They've done a recent review on the lead local social provider, and we are now working more closely with that registered provider and providers throughout the town as well. There's regular audits throughout selective licences areas, and the properties which are identified in a poor state of repair are highlighted with the housing enforcement team, and we will take action on that, and I think we have a good record of taking action on that. The council also took part in the private rented sector minimum energy and efficiency standard programme. This was some money what government, to be fair to them, granted us last year, and we went out and did a survey of properties. But worryingly, this resulted in 211 properties which were identified with energy efficiency of G or F ratings. And we managed to bring those up to at least an E. But again, this is what I'm saying to colleagues, is this is a problem we face, not just in this town, but throughout the Northwest. I want to guarantee colleagues that we will always bid for funding and take part in any initiative that tackles road landlords. Colleagues at Scrutiny were told as well that we are currently looking to increase the capacity of our standards and enforcement team. So with that, Madam Mayor, I'll move my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harbour. Any questions? Councillor Birtwistle. Page number and section, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it's page 115, PL2 and PL3. Sorry, page 115 and 116 relating to PL2. I've heard what the executive member has said and agree with him wholeheartedly about the state of the housing stock in this town. And he has given us some insight on, he understands this and they're doing their best. Could I ask the executive member if he is prepared to do a report to all councillors about what the council are going to do to try to resolve this situation after receiving the letter from the comedian in London, Michael Gove, whereby we actually know what the council is doing, what is needed more for the council to deliver proper homes for our residents that live in the town. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Birtwistle. Councillor Harbour, do you want to take a number of questions, if there are any, or do you want to answer that? Right. Yeah. Any other question? Councillor Briggs.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Page 115, PL2. I went out with the licensing team last week on the audit in Ghana, and it was eye-watering. I normally go down around Ghana on the streets looking at fly tipping and doing the Love Street thing. But some of the buildings we went round and had a look at, the troughing's dropping down. Obviously, that is one of the things what leads to the damp and things like that. All I want to do is to praise the team for doing a really, really good job. And I'm hoping that when the audit comes out and they send it to the local councillors, it will do a lot of good for the area. The second part, obviously it's still with that same page, is I've had some residents on to me this week about a person who's been put into prison for 26 weeks for burglary. He is in a licensed area in Ghana. I won't tell you which street, etc., etc. What I'm asking the licensing team, and if you could help me with this, are these people getting into a licensed area? I found out today, off one of the team, that it's their partners who are now the rented person. not them. So I'm just wondering, is there a possibility of doing something to keep these people out of licensed areas? Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Harbour.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can assure Councillor Birtwistle that once all these results come back to us in January, I will update members of what we've found and, again, what the challenges we face. In all honesty, I say to colleagues that, you know, this is a problem. I've said it 3 times now tonight, but this is a problem we all face at all levels of government. There are challenging times, we know that, but if we are serious about giving people decent homes to live in 2022 onwards, you know, it's a challenge that we're all going to have to face and do something about. Regarding what Councillor Briggs has said, I appreciate what he said about the audits, what take place. These audits regularly take place throughout all selective licensing areas. And again, on that one, if usually when properties are found to be in some disrepair, to be fair to the landlords, and there are a lot of decent landlords out there, those properties and that work is done very quickly. Where we find that work isn't being done, and residents are living in poor conditions through a landlord who couldn't care less one way or another, we will take action against that landlord. As for his other observations regarding the resident who lives in a property, I'd have to take some advice on that one, if I'm being honest with you, Madam Mayor, because I think there might be legal implications about what we can and what we can't do. But wherever it is, I will ask officers to get back and update Councillor Briggs on that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any observations? Councillor Birtwistle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's the same page, 115-116, PL2, relating to the conditions of a lot of our private rented and social rented properties within Burnley. I have been involved with a few tenants of some of these properties who are living in houses that I didn't believe still existed. I was brought up in a two-down slum in 1943. The only difference between that and some of the houses now is you don't have to take the tin bath off the back wall and have a bath in front of the fire. At least they have a bath. The damp is rife, the black mould is rife, and the rat infestation is increasing. We have to do something. When I listen to the Levelling Up and Housing Minister, what on earth is levelling up in Burnley? What are we doing to get levelling up for the people that live in these properties? We've just had £20-odd million from the Levelling Up scheme to take down some trees on a roundabout, take the roundabout away and make it nice going up to the turf. I don't object to that. I think that's very admirable to make that area nice. But would it not have been better to give us £20 million to improve the houses in our town? I'm ashamed of some of these houses. I walk through the door and think, would I live here? And the answer is no. So why? Why should young people with small children live in damp, cold, wet, rat-infested properties? I appreciate what Councillor Harbour has said. It is a mammoth task, and we need a team of certainly more than what we've got in the housing department, who are doing a great job. I have to say, the housing team who seek out these properties and demand that some of these landlords who don't even live around here do something about it. The problem is we now have a problem whereby I suggest to the tenants that they should report this to the council, and the tenant says to me, well, if I tell the landlord that, he'll serve me a Section 21 notice and I'll be evicted. A no-fault eviction for complaining about the state of the property that they're living in. What on earth have we come to? What have we come to when a young family in a house that's damp, wet, and the child's bed or cot is against a wall when the bedding is constantly wet because of the damp on the wall? And this isn't one, there are dozens of them, daren't daren't complain because the landlord will serve a no-fault Section 21 notice on them and they will be evicted onto the streets. And ladies and gentlemen, we don't have any houses. If they're evicted on the street, they get put in somewhere like the town mouse that's got one room where they put the whole family. Is that what we want? Is that what we're proud of this in town? We need to do something. We need to do something urgently. And these guys over here, that Michael Gove is their minister. He's supposed to be the levelling up minister. He's supposed to be helping us. He's got the cash. Where is it? Where's that money
Councillor
going?
Birtwistle, can you please keep it local?
Well, Madam...
In this chamber, please. If you have further things to say about national government, please address it to the national government.
Madam Mayor, national government provide the funds that we need to do this work. Without addressing this, we haven't got the money. The only money we have comes from national government. And if they don't provide the money, all I can tell the residents of this town, you will live in hell like this forever. And this is not good enough. It has to change. We need to put pressure on. I have to say I'm sad to stand here tonight and say this. It upsets me. It upsets me to see children sleeping in damp, wet beds in houses that I believed should have been long gone. And unfortunately, we still have them, and the situation is going worse, not better.
Thank you, Councillor Birtwistle. Councillor Graham.
Thank you. I'd like to make an observation. I wholly agree with what Councillor Birtwistle has said. I've worked in this town and worked for the people of this town for a very great number of years, more than 40 years in total, well over 40 years. I was involved in the Elevate programme, and the other day, or the other week, I was walking around Burnley Wood with our new councillor, Councillor Horrocks, and we were looking at the building development that went on as part of that Elevate programme, that whole area in front of St Stephen's Church, which was turned round from a mass of terraced houses to what you see today. That was the Elevate programme. We were on with that. We were on to the next area and then the next area. And what happened? The Tory government pulled the rug out from under our feet. A 15-year programme was ceased after 9 years. That is a local programme that was in full flow and doing so much good for this town, and it was taken away from us. And that is why we have got the housing conditions that Councillor Birtwistle's spoken about and Councillor Harbour's spoken about. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Councillor Harbour, do you want... Oh, Councillor McGowan. Can I just say that we're going to round up after this because this could go on all night. And it just seems to me that councillors are just making up observations on the hoof.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a very quick one to respond to just to make an observation on what Councillor Birtwistle and Councillor Graham said. Again, it's a bit sad to see that it's just going back to national politics all the time. And it's particularly sad to see Councillor Birtwistle was... anyone can watch it on YouTube 40 years ago talking about the state of houses in Bleak House. He's been a Member of Parliament himself since then, and has it not changed? I don't know. It's just a sad indictment of a long time of nothing. Thank you.
Councillor Harbour.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Regarding the observations, in my opinion, Madam Mayor, they're important observations because whether we're talking about national government, regional government or local government, the issues which we're talking about affect our residents. So that's why we should be speaking about them. And what I was saying earlier in my comments and observations, I'm not here to bash anybody. All I'm trying to say is that there's a massive problem here and we need to sort it out. If people are serious about sorting issues like this out, then we all need to work together on it. So the observations what Councillor Birtwistle made in particular disturb me because I would still say that anybody who's living in conditions like that, they should report them to the council and the council will take action on it. And if it results in eviction, I mean, I'm sure that somewhere within the council itself, we would fight that eviction as well. So, again, let's not tar all landlords with the same brush. You know, there are decent landlords out there. There are landlords out there through the Private Sector Renter Forum, who myself and Councillor Baker sit on. So we know that there are decent landlords out there. There are decent landlords who are signed up to our Good Landlord and Agent scheme. But yes, there is a rogue element there, and those are the people who we need to tackle. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you,
Councillor Harbour. Less hot air in here and more action outside, I think, sums that up. So can we move on to the executive member for Community and Environmental Services, Councillor Shah Hussain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I move my report. In doing so, I just want to raise one thing that's not on the report, but we've received a number of requests around the borough with regards to councillors in particular requesting extra help to remove leaves around the borough. And our team, the street scene team and our contractors have been very good in responding to that. In particular, they're looking to accommodate the requests made by councillors, and there will be extra resources given to those areas that are requested. Thank you. I'll take any questions that councillors want to.
Thank you, Councillor Hussain. Any questions? Any observations? Councillor Barton, can you give page and number, please?
It's page 120 and it is PL1. I just want us to recognise the fantastic statistics that we see regarding the Community Safety Partnership performance. Certainly the reduction in domestic violence and youth ASB are something that we should hope continue. I'm sure, as we all recognise, we're currently in a World Cup, and domestic violence normally would increase in association with large tournaments like this. So fingers crossed that we don't see any impacts like that in Burnley going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Barton. Councillor Hussain, do you want to? Oh, sorry, Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Regarding page 119, PL1, first of all, I'd just like to say, great report, love it, especially the Clean Streets app.
Can you speak?
Yeah, I think there may be something wrong with this actual microphone, Madam Mayor, but there we go. I'll try and hold it as close to my mouth as possible. Basically, great report. Love the Clean Streets app. I'd encourage everybody that's watching this on YouTube, get that downloaded on your Apple iPhone or your Android phone device. It's great, easy, take a photograph, send it off, superb. I'm pleased also to see that there were a good number of people still subscribing to the Green Waste Service, over 9,000. I'd be interested to know how many more are subscribing to that after we've increased it, if we do so. Councillor Graham obviously pointed out earlier on that people with gardens should pay more. They already do. It's called community charge. You pay £2,629 where I live at the moment. I'd like my green space collected for free as it used to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitaker. Councillor Hussain, do you want to wrap up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, and I think to what Councillor Barton was saying, I think it's all good work of MATAC, the multi-agency task group. That's something that we're really doing well within the borough, and bringing different organisations and communities together and targeting different areas where councillors have said they've got issues. So I think as a whole, that's been going on for a number of years, and I think that's something we should all be proud of and how it works. And so yeah, thank you for that, and hopefully let's keep those figures down. With regards to Love Street app, I've used it myself. It's really good. I'd encourage everybody to use it. The key thing here is we live in a two-tier authority, so as soon as you go on it, and if you want to report about whether it's a pavement or waste collection or something, it'll ask you what the issue is, and then it will direct your query to the appropriate authority. So I find that really useful. You know, rather than, you know, going onto a website like a traditional one and trying to figure out, you know, which area you're going to do. This one does it automatically. Like my colleague, Councillor Graham was saying, it takes you automatically to the subcontractor. So in our case, Abraiser will then get that information and then get on with the job. So it's a lot quicker to do. So I would encourage every councillors to use it and encourage your residents to do so. With regards to garden waste, look, it's a subscription base, it's gone up, but the thing with that, it's not just us as a council that are charging it. If you look at throughout the UK, majority of the councils, whether they're Labour or Liberal or Conservative or whichever, are charging people for garden waste. So it's not just us as Burnley, it's everywhere. And the reason they're doing it is cost effective, is seen as being fair, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hussain. And we'll move on to the Executive Member for Economy and Growth, Councillor Mark Townsend. Will you move your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move my report, but I just want to say a few words about page 129 and the final paragraph, Shared Prosperity Fund, and to give it its full name, the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. Hopefully, many of councillors will have seen a press release has already gone out about this, but I think it's worth saying a few words around this. Unfortunately, one of the newspapers has reported this as additional levelling up cash, which is complete nonsense. This is cash that replaces European Union funding that we used to receive. So we've been successful in securing the 3.5 million that was allocated to us under government criteria. We submitted our plan in July. That has now passed the government scrutiny. So it's great news that we've now been allocated this cash. And we'll be spending the cash under three strands: community and place, supporting business, and people and skills. But just to put into context what we've got here, it's 3.5 million over 3 years. And across Lancashire, the replacement for the EU funding is 40% less than what we were receiving under the European Union funding. So far from talking about levelling up, this is more like a continuation of the grinding down project that we've seen for many years. So in terms of this, the activities that we're going to identify are what are currently spent on ERDF and ESIF programs through the European programs, as I've said. Currently, those programs in Burnley, we spend £3 million a year. We're getting 3.5 million over 3 years here. So the hit we're taking, I think everybody can see. And we'll be working with partners to ensure that this money gets spent very wisely and in the most effective way that we possibly can. And let me assure Council as well, we're ready to start delivery and we're going to hit the ground running. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move my report.
Thank you, Councillor Townsend. Any questions? Councillor McGowan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Over the past few months, well, about a month and a half now, I have spoken with a number of residents who are really concerned about the application for 19 new houses which are being proposed to be built on Coronation Avenue. And I have to agree with them. The biggest concern is the extra traffic these houses would bring to the area. It's one way in, one way out. Considering how narrow the road is, it's going to cause some serious problems that the residents already experience, especially with parking. Thankfully, LCC have actually come back opposing the development on the same grounds. But could I just confirm that this will be at Development Control Committee in the new year now? And given how Councillor Townsend doesn't sit on the Planning Committee, will he back me and the residents and oppose this development?
Housing and employment.
Thank you. And it's PR4, page 127. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's onto, it comes onto here, doesn't it? Do you want to take that question, Councillor Townsend, or do you want to put it over to the housing, to Councillor Harbour?
Well,
the committee.
Well, we've moved past all that. I will just say a few words. Obviously, any individual planning application will go to development control and be treated in the way that they always are. It is identified within the local plan as suitable for housing, and I'm assuming DC will make its decision in the usual way. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Birtwistle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's page 129 and relates to PR6, the Shared Prosperity Fund. I'm very pleased to see that we've got this money, the replacement for the European Fund. Could I suggest a programme, maybe, of introduction to apprenticeships for the young people in the educational part of it? We are desperately in need of people going into apprenticeships. And could I suggest that whoever runs these schemes looks at a programme of introducing young people to apprenticeships? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Birtwistle. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Within the investment plan that we submitted to government, it's got a summary of all the initiatives that we will take and spending the 3.5 million in terms of supporting business. And there is flexibility within the programme in terms of how we'll work with business, whether it's apprenticeships or some of the hard-to-reach youngsters that we need to basically create aspiration to ensure that the young people that we have in the borough basically strive to achieve the best that they can. There are many, many opportunities within the borough. The educational establishments we've got, the college and New Clan, are doing some excellent work, and Calico, etc., and a whole community of business. So I think I'd like to work on a cross-party basis on this, on making sure that we spend this money in the most wisest possible way, and we use as much flexibility as possible to make sure that we target it correctly. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Townsend. Any further questions? Any observations? Councillor Barton.
Page 128, PR6, talking about youth employment and skills hub. Yesterday, I was among those privileged to attend Burnley's Prince's Trust Team Programme graduation event. The testimonials of the incredible impact it's had on participating young people was striking. Tissues were required. This 12-week programme, which builds employability skills while also having a tremendous effect on the confidence and aspirations of young people, can only continue if it's sufficiently used. So I invite colleagues here today to help promote and signpost access so that our young people can continue to benefit from this amazing programme.
Thank you, Councillor Barton, and I fully concur with your view there. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will just say I do totally agree with that. As Mayor, I had the absolute pleasure last year of handing out the certificates at an awards ceremony for the, let's call them the students that went through that 12-week programme. And it really was inspirational to hear how much the individuals and youngsters had come on during that programme, and how it was then giving them the tools, the techniques that will allow them to get into future employment, fulfill their potential and opportunities. And I go back to really the sentiments that I gave in the previous response to Councillor Birtwistle. That's got to be uppermost in all our minds to ensure that the next generation do better than the last generation, which seems to have stalled in recent years. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Townsend. And no further Councillor Anwar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. PR 6129, just on the Shared Prosperity Fund. I'd like to congratulate Councillor Townsend and obviously the officers who've put all the work into this, into making this happen. But I agree with Councillor Townsend in the sense that this is, and it needs to be said, is that this is 40% less than what we were previously receiving. there is already an individual out there who is already claiming credit for us securing this funding, and it's because of the lobbying that he'd carried out. But this is money that was allocated by government for local councils. So this is money that we had to put in for and say where we were going to get that money spent. The money is very, very welcome. It is 40% less than what we used to receive, but as it's been described, it's not levelling up. And I think I heard Councillor Birtwistle say earlier on that we rely on central government to, as councils, to provide us with money. What we're actually seeing is that central government are taking away money from local councils like ours. And if they didn't do that, maybe then, just maybe, we won't have to charge for garden waste. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Townsend, do you want to... Thank you. Right, and that concludes that part of the meeting. So item 7 on the agenda is questions.
None have been received, Madam Mayor.
Thank goodness for that. And on that note, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming and wish you all the best for Christmas and the New Year. And I'm sorry we're not having mince pies this year because none of you brought them in. So Merry Christmas to you all.
Members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding. Thank you.